Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. Today we're focusing in on Kaden Pressy versus Elisha in regard to Kathy Bingham being the middle individual sharing out bits of material and supposed evidence of the scene of Noah Presgrove along the highway and how it differs from interpretation to one another because supposedly there are different clips or certain aspects have been shown more to one person than the other, yet the family, when it comes to Kaden, when it comes to Elisha, what the hell's going on there, to try and understand it. A focused, dedicated video today on this particular theme, like what I did last night. If you have missed last night's video, you do want to catch up on it. It is very important. There's a very important question and suggestion mentioned, which could basically resolve the whole of Kaden's timeline and the debate. If you do want to catch up on it, top right corner where the eye symbol is, you'll be able to find it there, along with the full playlist of the case when I've covered videos of it. Up to now, I've made about 278 videos or so, closing in slowly on the 300 mark, and reasonable, steady progress there. This is probably more likely to be a live premiere because there is just more to talk about today as like a discussion. What I did last night, there was only so much that could be said. There was no point making it a live premiere because people would join with like 2 minutes left of the video and then it'll be over and done with, so pointless. And I wanted to engage and check, monitor how the conversations would go in the comment section, because sometimes you might exhaust yourself in the live chat, but by the end of it you might not have much more to say in the comment section. And upon reviewing it myself, statistically consistent with a live premiere or not, that doesn't matter. This case, people will get bored of it. It's very obvious, as you can see by the numbers, but that's just what happens with most cases out there. Things do drop off. But in terms of the conversations, comments, that remained consistent with levels of engagement, which is all positive. You could argue and say that the live premiere structure might enhance it more because upon conversations with others, there might be additional new questions and then they can be asked later in the comment section below of the video. So that's why I'll keep it the way it is when the length of the video is long enough. So if it is a live premiere tonight, welcome to those that are actually present. Feel free to use the live chat feature on the right hand side of the screen. And if you do want to leave any additional comments, questions, make sure to do so down below under the video and we can go back to them. What I will be doing today is looking back at some comments from yesterday in regard to Kaden Pressy, because it ties in with the same theme of what we're getting at in recent time to do with the highway as well. And we're focusing in on Kaden Pressy just because there is more material to work with, because Kaden has spoken out more publicly. And with the exception of the leaked interview, in comparison to other party goers that haven't put themselves online as much, it's not like I can do the same focus elsewhere unless it's more theory-based videos, and maybe there's a time and place for that. But right now, I just want to focus in on these particular areas because it is very important. It's important to acknowledge and understand that what Elisha saw supposedly is different to what Kaden Pressy saw. But in terms of the timing of it all, a timestamp never seemed to be acknowledged or mentioned. I wonder why. So that's what we're doing today. If anyone wants to support this channel, down below in the comment section, you'll find the pinned message by me with the PayPal link and the order of how we'll do it today. I don't have all the screenshots because they're all over the place. There's so many out there. Some are easy to find, others are not. Upon post on post on post, too much shit going about, but I do remember it in here, so it'll be fine. We would have been from Facebook, the conversation with Elisha, and I may have covered it in a previous video of mine, but it wasn't dedicated to it all, so I'm not going to be able to find it that easy, hence why no screenshots, just being honest with you. I'm sure some of you will, have your memories rejogged and know what I'm referring to in today's video. But also the underlying theme of, if you got certain police members or you got a private investigator like Kathy Bingham, why are those individuals showing certain people in the case more material than others? Is there a reason behind that? Are some more deserving, entitled of it? Is it done as a test? Is it done because there's a level of conflict of interest? Is it an unnatural thing or what? the victim's family are the ones in the dark, but someone like Kaden Pressy and Elisha, or even Jack Newton, are receiving bits of material or thoughts and ideas from either police or Kathy Bingham. It varies, but you'd hope that the victim's family would be receiving most of the answers because they're quite high up there on the hierarchical list. The victim's family, and you got the victim's friends, but you think the family would come first and in contact communication with police, but it's just not been the case, at least from what we've seen. And with the recent discussions come across as in, well, police may know some things or been able to witness some people present at a point in time post-news of Noah's death, but never been released public. Certain timestamps, phone records, never been posted public, whether they can be or can't. It just makes everything a lot more difficult to try and listen to and understand. If this case was a bit more consistent and there was less noise, less people involved within the case itself, you might be able to take people's word for it just a little bit better than the way it is in its current state. Because the inconsistencies along the way, it's not done much good, has it? Caused trust issues, and then people within the community, there's been trust issues there. I think things have got a bit quieter since, in good ways, but also in bad ways. There's a trade-off, but hopefully today's video can bring some things back into discussion. So in no special order, a point in time, I believe in 2024, I said, I don't know what order it occurred in, if I'll be honest with you, but Kaden Pressy, at his place of living, had a visit by Kathy Bingham, private investigator. And Kaden brought this up in the police recorded private interview. Now, the reason why I'm not going to be showing any of that, whilst it's not from Partners in True Crime, because the way things are at this moment in time and the way it's gone, and with my channel, with that copyright removal claim thing, although it didn't happen, but it could at some point because YouTube has the final decision. I don't want to risk anything at this moment. It's just too risky. It's absolutely sad and pathetic how someone like me can't even use material to back up as evidence when making my points, just to refine it a little bit more, because the moment I do that, I get punished. But other true crime channels and many other YouTubers out there, just because they're bigger, they can get away with it. Absolutely pathetic, if you ask me. But it's a good thing that I've got my memory, at least. That's the one thing that saves me at times. But I do remember it. The police recorded interview of June 2024. When being interviewed by police, Kaden Pressy did make the reference to seeing the highway footage, tampering of Noah's black shorts. Even if not everybody agrees with it, that's what Kaden had to say at the time to the police's face, from what Kaden believes he saw, not first hand, but in terms of being shown footage. And it's not the first time Kaden has been shown footage on behalf of somebody else that had the material. For example, that side-by-side rollover, the after effects, where a person from the party you would think, no name mentioned by Kaden, which is very interesting, where Kaden had acknowledged that a person had, and I think it might be from the private interview as well, it would have to be within the same interview. Kaden acknowledged that there was a photo from a video which showed Noah on the floor with a bloodied nose, and the guy went up to Noah up close, and there might have been laughing, possibly. So it's like the after effects and a timestamp of 2:40, suggesting that's the time of when it roughly happened or a bit before. And yeah, that's just what Kaden said. So he's been shown material. And out of everyone, you know, when it comes to these party goers, and I want people to be taking notes right now, out of the other party goers that have cooperated in the background with police, but they've not participated much at all online. And whilst Kaden Pressy may feel isolated, odd man out, because he's got his timeline, but it doesn't match up with everybody else's, or for most part of it. And whilst Kaden has supposed to been hard done by delays in the early days of trying to reach out to police for an interview, trying to hand the phone over, but the police not quite accepting it. With all that BS and delays, whilst Kaden has been on the rough end of it all, my question is, have the other party goers received the same level and amount of material and evidence shown that way? Just like how Kaden Pressy has been exposed and shown important supposed evidence and material tied with the case of Noah Presgrove, whether that be the side-by-side rollover, the proof of it happening, and video footage showing it does exist. Because to put in perspective, Kaden words it from what he's witnessed from the actual hard evidence itself. Jack Newton in the past had acknowledged that it existed multiple videos or more than one video of the side-by-side rollover after effects. So Jack is consistent with Kaden. Jack indirectly backs up Kaden Pressy, even if they don't see eye to eye with timelines. That's why it's important. The event is consistent. The footage existing is consistent with what Kaden, with what Jack says individually. However, the difference is Kaden is speaking from experience of witnessing the evidence. Jack Newton was speaking at some point from what he's been told by police. Not shown the footage, not shown any photos, but just told as a form of acknowledgement that it does exist by Zachary Wright. Has Zachary Wright communicated the same way to Noah's victim's family, the same way as he connected with Jack Newton? No, because Jack Newton supposedly, even though we've not seen it from the horse's mouth, Zach himself, when Jack speaks on behalf of Zach with what Zach has supposedly told Jack, and then what Jack has told someone in a private DM conversation, which was then leaked publicly afterwards, I would argue and say that Zach, opinion-based or not, has shared a lot more on a more personal level with Jack Newton than Noah Presgrove's family, or certain family members at least. At the end of the day, you'd think that the victim's family would receive more communication from police than, I guess, certain party goers, unless certain party goers are connected or closer to the police, hence why there's a higher priority there. But if you really break it down, without even getting to the main theme and topic of today's video, when you break it down, there are different people within the case, whether you're a party goer witness, a person of interest, or if you're a parent, a guardian of the victim, or a party goer. Some receive more intel communication from police or private investigators than one another, and it's all over the bloody place. What the hell's going on with that? A massive form of, unusual, all over the place communication. And there might be certain ways behind it and reasons, a form of experimenting. See, with the Dylan Brown's case, the victim's family, parents, both Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds, they were communicated with the police, but individually separated and told different stories and outcomes and news in regards to the case of their son. Why did they do that? As like a test to see how they would react to different things and then how they would react to one another afterwards. It's like an experiment just to monitor behaviour. A little bit, unusual, but I guess it's supposed to be done. Maybe the same can happen in this case as well. And the more people involved in this case or linked in some way, communication may vary and differ from person to person and authority. In no particular order, I'd say Kaden Pressy has, from what he says, seen actual hard evidence of the after effects of a side-by-side rollover involving Noah. Jack Newton has not, but has received confirmation officially from police. So, based off that, you would think, or you would hope, that there's a small chance that when Kaden, in his private police interview of June 2024, when acknowledging that a person at a later point, who must have been from the party, you would think, who had the footage, whether it be the original footage or passed on from somebody else that showed it to Kaden, there's a chance that that guy that showed it to Kaden at the time also shared it on with police, maybe. This is the other key piece of discussion and questioning. is that different party goers may record the same thing, but from different points of views. All original footage, but from different angles, and each one equally as important as the other and the previous one. But if it is posted, if any were posted on social media and a person got a copy of it or a screenshot, it's like second-hand evidence, then it's not the raw original copy. And you would normally want the raw original copy to prove the time, the date, the timestamp, the year, and all of that. So when Kaden Pressy was shown it by a person who may have been from the party and shared it with Kaden, was that an original video, an original photo, or was it just saved, screenshotted, passed on from another party-goer witness? It does make you think. But it's interesting that Kaden Pressy, whilst he's been screwed over supposedly by police in the very early days, not enough proactivity from them on chasing up on Kaden. Even when you thought that there should be, especially early on, when Kaden's Hey Dude shoe is found on Noah's body, even if Kaden, well, considering Kaden appears to be very innocent and being asleep, hence having an alibi during the build-up and death of Noah, despite that, if a piece of your item possession or DNA ends up on a person, a body of someone that's died, you'd think police would follow it up quick and question you immediately. That didn't seem to happen. So whilst it's okay in a way to say how the dark side and the other party goers are being protected by police and corruption, turning a blind eye, turning another cheek, paying others off, being silenced, deep pockets, you could argue and say that, has anyone been arrested yet? No. Has anyone been punished yet? No. For someone like Kaden Pressy, and I'm not going to use him directly as an example, but his situation only as an example, to put in the whole theme of corruption or true incompetence, if people from the light side want to push it and shove it so far on the dark side, well, to put things back into perspective, into balance, that if no follow-up or justice has been served yet and no one has paid the price or been really questioned or interrogated brutally onwards, that if someone was in the same shoes or position as Kaden Pressy, where they themselves are pushing for a response by police early on, interviews as soon as possible, phone data records as soon as possible. But if you just so happen to be the killer or murderer, whilst it might not make sense in you pushing yourself out there towards police, because you're kind of incriminating yourself from that moment, but let's just say the police were so lazy or couldn't be bothered, there was no urgency, you're literally handing yourself in and the police won't even bother following up on it or won't even consider. So what I'm getting at is, if you're in the same situation as Kaden Pressy based off how the police reacted in the early stages and you just so happen to be responsible for the death of Noah Presgrove, what does that say about the whole situation? Oh, let's blame the dark side. Let's blame the cover-ups, the deep pockets, being silenced. But what happens if you got the true killer or the true person responsible for something and they're actually giving themselves into police and the police still don't want to follow up on that? Then what chance or hope is there then? You get what I'm saying? People will still try and misunderstand or will what I just said. Then that's not my problem, that's theirs. Okay? But it's just to bring and shift it back into focus. Now, as said, there's many things to talk about in regards to the theme of material hard evidence. It's a very important piece in the case. And it just happens that certain party goers have seen portions, bits and bobs, but then equally members of the general public have seen bits and bobs online, like the shower video on Facebook, but no one got a screenshot or a copy of it because no one expected it to be taken down. But what I would argue and say, does anyone actually know when it was posted and at what point, what time? It must have been at the time of when the Facebook pages of the Noah Presgrove case, Army, Justice, case discussion existed, one if not multiple. Does anyone actually know on what page the shower video of Noah was posted on? At what time? What year? 2023? 2024? When? If it's around a time of when people were getting screenshots anyway and archiving stuff, I'm really, really surprised no one bothered to archive the shower footage. General public, certain groups, small amounts of people say that they saw the footage. That sounds very important. A witness to seeing footage and hard evidence material. Just like Kaden Pressy, but an actual party goer that has been shown footage material from the party itself at a time of when he just was asleep, so he wouldn't have experienced it firsthand, but he saw it secondhand after, then passing it on to us, retelling the story thirdhand from what he's witnessed through a piece of digital hard evidence and media. And then there's Jack Newton, in which he's received dialogue communication from a member of the police force, Zachary Wright. More official, but only based on words. But you'd hope to believe in what the police says is the truth. If there is proof and evidence of this and that, then that's good. If that's the same reasoning ability, then you could apply it to Elisha then. Because what I'm getting at is, if people can believe in what Jack says when Jack is speaking on behalf of what he's been told from Zachary Wright, who's a member of the police official, then when Elisha has made reference about how, well, my son Kaden Pressy, what he says, his timeline is all true, can be backed up and proven with the phone data, the geonetting or geofencing, because the police have confirmed it and have got Kaden's phone from back then and processed since, and it's all fine and under control. So does that mean it's case closed? Well, we've not seen it in terms of hard evidence from the horse's mouth originally. Maybe it can't be posted publicly, and I understand, but you should still be able to remain skeptical there. I think that's what's really needed. In terms of the Dylan Rounds case, you just had to take people's word for it, the parents. But the parents were in communication with police and actually had their son's phone and was able to get hold of the pings and all of that. So there was a bit more consistency there, at least with the time stamps. There was consistency. As for the other bits and bobs, the actual events of what happened or what supposedly did, very inconsistent in the early days. But the actual timing of stuff seemed more consistent, which was a positive. The timing within this case, very inconsistent. So you can't just take somebody's word for it and be pleased or happy with it. It's just not enough in this particular case. It's unfortunate. It's not always like that, but it is in this particular one. So if I just return back to the main part of today's discussion and theme, specifically highway footage, post-death of Noah Presgrove, was there ever a timestamp attached, mentioned by Kaden in his private police interview? No. Did Elisha make a reference to a timestamp? No. But in terms of the lighting, it being dark, and whether Kaden has acknowledged it as well, I do remember Elisha wording it that there was like lights or headlamps on from a vehicle nearby. So trying to break it down bit by bit, regardless of what order it happened in, one thing that's consistent is, based off what Kaden says and the mother Elisha, Kathy Bingham has material or had material of a recording of the highway scene at a certain time. Elisha saw 10 seconds of a clip. Kaden Pressy saw more. Why? What the hell's going on there? And whilst in that police interview when Kaden did talk more about it in depth, about who was present, what people visually looked like, the actions that were taking place in the footage, the way the police guys, the interviewers reacted, they were shocked. As if, maybe, how do you know about this, Kaden? Why would you know this? This is sensitive material which the police should only have. You weren't there at the time, so how did you get a hold of it then, Kaden? Kind of pushing for answers there. But there might have been, because this is just from memory, one of the police guys may have said, "Are you serious? Are you sure you're telling the truth?" Maybe doubting Kaden because they wanted to monitor or test how Kaden would reply to see if it is true to what he says and true to what police already have. If there's been like a breach, a leak, where did it come from? Then the mention of Kathy Bingham's name acknowledged. I think at one point after that, during the leak, Kathy Bingham may have backtracked and left a comment or a thread somewhere saying, "I never had any photos or I didn't have any videos of it and I didn't show that stuff to police." I could be wrong, but I'm sure there was a bit of backtracking by Kathy Bingham. But maybe that was just done as a publicity stunt, as a means of protecting themselves, their reputation, and maybe the case as well. Seeing the Dylan Rounds case, victim's family, mother Candice Cooley, when the police were processing sensitive information on the NamUs database website, there was a public version accessible by anyone, and then there was the police one. And when the police were filing stuff on it, they ended up entering in the information on the public page profile of Dylan Rounds and not the private police one. So we all saw it. The police accidentally leaked sensitive information and findings. Quite shocking. Candice Cooley said herself that she was advised by police to go against it and to say it's a lie, that what you see on that database is a mistake and it's not true. And if that's the whole case, then what Candice Cooley had to do, the victim's mother, she had to basically go against evidence and the truth and say it's a lie. Candice Cooley had to lie herself, damage her own credibility for the sake of saving the case and getting justice for their son, because the police were that incompetent that they released sensitive material publicly on the page. So sacrifices, sacrificial lamb, had to be made for a bigger cause, and that was justice for Dylan Rounds. Maybe the same can happen in this case at times when certain family members or friends or other people may say that's not true or give a different story because they have to protect the case or protect themselves, or they've been advised to by police, just like how when we come across Kaden Pressy, may say certain things on a consistent basis, but when other people want to ask him questions or about the Mikey Lair Snapchat post, Kaden will never answer. Kaden will never respond. But with having an attorney in the background, there's only certain stuff maybe that he can talk about and acknowledge, and other things he's just got to ignore. I'm not doing a talking or actions on behalf of him, but just providing a bit of guessing and context to try and understand why things fall on deaf ears. Maybe it's not truly being ignored. It's just that the position that a person is in within the case, they just can't speak or say much. So the easiest, safest thing to do is just keep your mouth shut, but you can still talk about other things, maybe. But anyone watching right now in this live chat, just let me know your thoughts in regard to different people in the case being shown different material, some getting rich information and others getting breadcrumbs, and some getting absolutely nothing when they're probably more deserving of getting most out of it, such as the victim's family. You could argue and say, when it comes to Noah Presgrove's family, who are the most active family members in the case or on the page publicly? Ashley Chadwick to an extent, but more so Robin Smith. When it comes to the mother, was it Casey Smith? Don't really see anything from them anymore, if not for a long time. Supposedly Noah's mom, Casey Smith, was on the official Noah Presgrove Reddit page, but it's not run by family members, just as a heads up. I think last night or recently there was a few comments by some other people saying how the official Reddit page, where you got the moderator or admin known as Excellent Spite and some other people, that they actually blocked Noah's own family from the page. I don't know how true that is. But if that ever did happen, that is a little bit embarrassing, to be honest with you. I don't know what the hell's going on there. It seems a bit weird. I mean, when you get a victim family member, if not more. And when you get people of interest, witnesses within a case, if they ever came towards me or were on my channel, even if they were a bit negative, I would never block them, because it would be one of the most stupid, low IQ things to do. Why would you ever push away a person of interest when you could learn more or pick up on new material? Why would you deny yourself of that? But more importantly, why would you deny them a platform, a place for their voice to be echoed and spread? Sounds very backwards, but as I said, I don't know how true it is on Reddit, but if it ever did happen any place, it's a problem. And to be honest, you could say from like what Justin Roy had said, like with the Justice page run by the family of Noah Presgrove, that certain people like maybe Stevie Howard or Caleb Newton and some others were blocked from that page supposedly, and previous post conversations were deleted, meaning evidence and material was lost, as what Justin says, highlighting it's a great shame. Why does no one talk about that more? Sounds very important. The earlier on it is, the more fresh, the more raw, and the more natural, the more hard-hitting. And then what? The Justice page or family's members decide to delete it, get rid? Why would you deny yourself of that? Once again, weird. Just seems a little backwards. But anyway, I'm just throwing all these bits out there because it comes to my mind as I'm talking. But referring back to Kaden Pressy in that private police recorded interview, acknowledging that Kathy Bingham, private investigator, paid Kaden a visit at his place of living at a point in time, maybe in 2024. And then Kathy had shown the footage to Kaden. How greatly does it differ to when Kathy Bingham paid Kaden's parents a visit on a different time outside the patio area? How greatly does the material or footage differ? Well, it appears that it was a 10-second video as in the CCTV footage of the Pressy household of the patio area does show that the device that Kathy Bingham was holding showed movement on the screen to indicate it was a video. That's what's important to acknowledge first of all. But then Elisha, who witnessed it at the time, had made a comment on Facebook or somewhere at a different point, which was, I guess, leaked by someone that was in conversation with Elisha. And Elisha had said it was 10 seconds long. That's all it was. That's all. So there's only so much you would have seen in the footage. So why did Kaden Pressy see a lot more then with what Kathy Bingham had compared to what Elisha had seen? And at what point, what time did it happen? Is there any reference or link to when Elisha in another Facebook comment, DM, made a reference about not trusting Kathy Bingham because prior to this, Kathy Bingham had already interviewed Kaden Pressy on 2 separate occasions behind the parents' backs without any acknowledgement or questioning? Those 2 interviews that were previously done on Kaden, was that at a point when Kathy had shown Kaden any of the footage, the tampering of black shorts? I wonder. Does make you think. And you know what? If black shorts didn't exist on Noah's body at the highway at the time of his death, and it's only white shorts, and if there was no tampering whatsoever, then at the end of the day, why on earth would Kaden Pressy have to lie about it then, if at the end of the day he has a decent enough alibi to say he was asleep all the way through up until the announcement of Noah's death? If you have an alibi and you were asleep at the time, then you must be innocent. So then why would you go back on that and then lie about timestamps and then lie about black shorts and then lie about tampering with evidence? And if you've also quoted and made reference to what somebody else has shown you as for hard material and evidence of it actually taking place, and you see it with your own eyes, if it was a lie, then why would you need to lie? Why would you need to make it up? What's the whole point behind that in the first place? It makes absolutely no sense. I'm not saying Kaden is lying, but what I am saying is, if what opposition say is true, that this didn't happen, that didn't happen, that never occurred, that wasn't present, but this was. Based off that mentality and what people supposedly know or think, then you'd ask yourself, then why is Kaden in the position he's in and saying what he says then? What is the point in lying? Because it will catch up on you eventually. What is the point of changing or adding to the narrative in an unnatural way if you are truly innocent? Makes no sense. If you're asleep, then you should be thanking yourself. It's like, whew, at least my hands aren't involved in this and it's not going to get messy because I was asleep. I have no clue what's gone on or what was happening before or afterwards. So a more, what would you call it? Out of touch individual in regard to certain events at the time because you were asleep, but Kaden Pressy receives material here and hard evidence there of the events which he did not get to see at the time because he was asleep, but he catched up on later to see it from a different point of view of those that were present at the time of it unfolding. But Kaden Pressy has not mentioned anything about being shown footage of the shower or footage of teabagging or footage of white shorts or footage of Noah being fed by Carter Combs, ramen noodles or yogurt. So it just goes to show that it's a little bit all over the place in regard to what some may see and others show. Kathy Bingham in regard to maybe more so what she had to show Kaden at the time, and Kaden made a reference, I believe, saying how Kathy Bingham had that footage, but it may have been passed on by the original person that recorded it, such as a trucker, a member of the general public at the highway at the time. The timing is crucial, but unfortunately, not at any point from my memory were any timestamps mentioned. All Kaden may have said was likely the footage would have been after I left. Because when I was there, as in Kaden Pressy, from 5:21 to 5:30, Noah was wearing black shorts. But then after 5:30, when I was told to leave by a truck guy, even though Kaden Pressy corrected me last night, even though what I was referring to is what he was referring to, so I don't know what was the point of that, but nevertheless, is that after 5:30 when Kaden had left, that's when it must have happened, the tampering with the black shorts. Because the next thing a different set of people see, such as Jimmy Williams, undersheriff, such as Tyler Hardy, that consists of Noah being naked. What Kaden saw, Noah was clothed, but what other people saw later, Noah naked, meaning something in between must have happened. And based off the estimate timing of 5:30 onwards, but before 5:43, when the first call made by Tyler H, who was passing by, between that time period of 5:30 to 5:43, it's a very, very tight window, of course. But based off what Kaden Pressy is saying, in between that window, that's when the black shorts, the tampering with them, must have occurred. Seems a little bit hard to believe, but maybe I can do a demonstration, a reconstruction of it, but not as full on as what I've done previously, but based off the actual timing window. Something I've never done, unfortunately, and I don't know why. It's probably, I bring it up as an idea, but then there's other stuff that comes about and then it get busy with other things, but I'll have to try and consider it and put it into perspective. So be on the lookout for that possible video, and if I do forget, or just leave a comment down below asking for it, okay? Just in case I forget myself. Leave a comment down below and let me know clearly if you would like to see a small focused video on the timing of 5:30 to 5:43 in between that period of what went down. Because it's you know, whatever happens in that space is after Kanan's left, but it's happening before another set of people arrive, and it's a short space of time. But I'm just, you know, kind of like relaying from what Kaden Pressy had said when describing that specific footage and material, and got into quite some detail. And to get into quite some detail would mean either it was very memorable or you've just got a very good memory yourself, and because the footage is richer in length and depth. If you see like a short little clip and there's not much going on in the clip, you might be able to give a clear description of what's going on. If it's visually clear as well, more importantly. But if there's a lot going on in the clip, but it's a short video, and you're only showing it quickly, you might not be able to memorize it all. So to compensate for it, if you got to rewatch it over and over again, you might remember better. And if the video was longer in length, you might have more time to process it. Not everybody processes it all at the same time, of course. That does need to be acknowledged. But I do remember Kaden Pressy acknowledging that there was a police guy or a police officer, which is consistent with what Elisha had said from the footage that she was shown from what Kathy Bingham had. But it seems to be different videos, supposedly. Or it could be all of the same video, but one was shown more than the other. But why, though? Why would Kaden Pressy be shown highway footage when someone like Kaden is supposedly innocent and got an alibi because he was asleep? Why would he need to be shown such sensitive material like that? What, because Kathy trusts Kaden? It just seems like that when you got a case investigation, when you gather material and evidence along the way, it's probably not a good idea to be sharing it with people of interest within a case, because there might be a conflict of interest. It could damage, it could have legal issues, implications on the case. That, anything sensitive, important you may find, is best handing it into authorities as soon as possible and not be showing anyone else in between. Like, just take this as an example, a rough one. You're a private investigator. You get a hold of really important material and evidence which could crack the case open and solve it. You decide to show it to a witness, a person of interest, unknown to you, that that individual is the one responsible for being the murderer, the killer. And you've shown them such important, sensitive material to them that then from there on then, they can then plan ahead and make changes or do things to try and protect themselves, or even flee to protect themselves. So when evidence and sensitive material falls into the wrong hand, it can have massive implications on the case. So you could say, well, as people criticise, of course, the police for how they interviewed Kaden Pressy in a forceful way at times and a bit of gaslighting too, and it being like a 2-on-1 bullying situation, you could aim it elsewhere and say, well, certain police people like Zachary Wright or Anthony Linares, how they communicated with Kaden Pressy whilst talking about Justin Roy behind his back, saying how unprofessional or how problematic Justin is, and Kaden agreeing and Anthony chatting away like it's gossip, high school talk, that he's a fully grown adult here in a high role position, authority, and talking like that. It sounds very casual, as if you're friends and you already know each other, but they didn't. So it just seems a little bit amateur at times and a bit unprofessional as well. It can be unprofessional from different angles, but just as an opinion, and only as an opinion, but based on an observation made over time, you could say certain actions by Kathy Bingham, unprofessional. Certain communication by Zachary Wright, in a way, a little bit unprofessional. Anthony Linares, a little bit unprofessional, not telling them to do how to do their job or stating it as a fact, but just as an opinion that how they communicate, or what we've witnessed, at least from our point of view and context that's been available, it's just something that I wouldn't expect or see as the norm, but maybe it differs from country to country or state to state, or within a small community, communication could differ. It might be more friendly, it might be more casual. I don't know. But if anyone else does know or have a better idea, or you have your own encounters with police or cases you've been involved in, if you want to share down below, you can. I mean, have any of you received material or evidence when you're a person of interest or a witness within a case caught up within, and you've been shown important evidence when that evidence probably should be shown more to police and not yourself? That in a way, you want to keep everybody in order, the people of interest, the witnesses, all in place to keep an eye out for them all, but not to release too much to them themselves. Kind of at times leave them in the dark, to sweat, to dwell on things, to see if they will break or if anything will come out. You start releasing stuff publicly, they find out and they're tied in within it, or they find out that they're within that footage material. They could panic, they could flee, and then you've lost them. Or they could change the story or add in a new alibi and then plan ahead. You don't want to be giving room or space for people to be able to think and plan ahead if they are tied up within a case. You know, even innocent people as well, just for that full balance, treat them all the same up until there is a breakthrough or the next step has moved on. But besides that, Kaden Pressy mentioning how it's dark in the highway footage, it's after and occurring likely when Kaden had already left, so that's when it started, when Kaden wasn't around to see it. A police guy, possibly volunteer firefighters, unclothed or clothed individuals but not in correct uniform. And there was a mention of a badge number which Kaden remembered or picked up on out of all things present. That it was the policeman that was removing the black shorts off Noah's body. References of that. Kaden Pressy, though, never mentioned about any white shorts being present in the footage, let alone there was no acknowledgement by Kaden of shorts being replaced, as in added onto Noah's body. All that Kaden saw was black shorts of Noah's being pulled off, and that's it. Not much, but based off the timing, or at least how you interpret it from what Kaden had said himself, occurring before an official call was made. But there was already authority on scene before an official call made. So that comes across as unprofessional. It comes across as tampering with evidence. And if some people are already in uniform, are they off duty or what? Did they catch wind about it earlier by a party goer and was down there to assist and look out for certain party goers in order to help them? We've not seen the hard evidence ourselves. If we saw hard evidence of that highway footage, and if the timestamp is in line with Kaden Pressy's, then it will bring it back to reinforcing it as foul play and a higher chance of it being a murder case, regardless of the injuries, right? But what Kaden says to what Elisha says is based on words and only words. You could push it and argue and say, well, at least Elisha actually had those CCTV cameras pointing downwards on the patio area, which did clearly show Kathy Bingham with her own device or a phone sharing it to Elisha, and it was only 10 seconds long. But in that conversation of audio from the CCTV, Elisha says, oh, police or authority, policeman. And then Kathy Bingham says, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. And there might have been more dialogue as well. But that's where it was, just acknowledging that there was a police person present in that footage. And that in that footage, Noah's body was on the floor in sight. We couldn't see it because obviously we're not up close to the phone. We're looking at it through a different camera up top, looking down. It's not ideal, is it? But it's interesting in documenting it. Whilst it's not clear enough, you could argue and say, if you wanted to be petty, that if no material should be released to public, and like Kaden's interview is private and should never have been leaked or hacked, as Elisha had said several times, regardless, if all this sensitive material and information needs to remain private, then why did Elisha decide to share or release herself publicly CCTV footage of Kathy Bingham with a device in her hand, with hard evidence on screen showing Noah's body, the highway, and a police person present, likely to be in line with what Kaden Pressy was shown by Kathy Bingham, but more of the footage? Elisha had said it was only 10 seconds. Okay, that seems to be the case. But what Kaden Pressy has described sounds more than 10 seconds long. So why would Kathy show Kaden more of the footage, but show Elisha a limited amount? And at least from the CCTV camera at the time of when it was shown to Elisha, Kaden was not present. Kaden was inside or elsewhere, getting a drink, going to the bathroom, who knows? Was that done on purpose? Was Kathy Bingham like, right, I want to isolate Kaden from his mom and I'll show them different things or different portions of it and see how they react? Was that the right thing to do though? Whether it was handed in to police or not at that time, should it have been ever shown to a party goer or two? And why Kaden of all people? Why does Kaden receive material here and there? Is it because he asked for it? He inquired about it? Or did other people think, you know what, Kaden Pressy, he needs to be shown the footage, but why? Did people show him the footage because they felt that Kaden's timeline stands out from everybody else? So they wanted to show some kind of material or footage which could reinforce Kaden's timeline, give him reassurance, or maybe go against and debunk it and use a bit of reasoning ability to say, hey Kaden, have you seen this footage? It doesn't quite link to yours or your timeline, so you might need to rethink stuff, depending on how you look at it. So that's just like the main focus of what I just wanted to get out today in regards to highway footage. We've not seen it publicly. We may never see it publicly, but Elisha has seen 10 seconds of it. Kaden has seen more of it. But why only those people? Has any other party goer, has any other guardian or family member, friend of the party goers, like the Jack Newtons, the Carter Combs, the Avery Howards, the Jasmine Millans, Stephanie Millans, the Mikey Lairs, Brylan Sweats, Isaac Rojas, have any of those people or families of them been shown the footage by Kathy Bingham, yes or no? You would think that there could be a chance that maybe Brylan Sweat had, just because Brylan is somewhat connected via family with Kathy Bingham. But I could be wrong, just a suggestion. So, with that all being said, to let things simmer and stir and see what people come up with as for ideas, you can let me know what you think in the comment section below and in the live chat too. Right now, I want to focus on previous discussions in regard to Kaden Pressy, his timing of being present at the highway itself, with what I've questioned last night, and just see what viewers have had to say in response and acknowledge any questions if necessary. Let's start off with the bottom and work our way up. We've got Classy, welcome. Classy, shout out, long time viewer back from 2022 or so. They're still about, that's good to see. We've got +1, Justice for Noah, of course. Larry, welcome. We've got TJ, let's see what they say here. Crazy to think that when you think about it from this angle perspective, that Kaden Pressy's family got back home just an hour before Noah's body was found. Noah's swelling and bruising colour suggest he died at least 1 to 2 hours before he was found. So Noah was killed whilst, Kaden's family, parents, were driving on that, Elisha, on the same highway. Oh, right, I see. Georgia, which is Elisha niece, Georgia, and to Kaden's cousin, Georgia, and her friend, Breely, are also the last known people as well to have drove past where Noah's body was found before the trucker discovered him. On top of all, that they were parked about a minute away from where Noah was found around the same time he went missing. It's baffling to me that y'all don't find that absolutely suspicious. Well, we do need to acknowledge the timing of it all. And at least from my perspective and what I remember, Kaden Pressy said at 2:43 in the morning, originally what we've heard on Partisan True Crime, that's when Elisha had called Kaden to say, Georgia has made it back home. So they had already left earlier. And anyway, at 2:43, Noah was still at the party. It's 3:30 when Noah supposedly walked away, and then onwards past that point when the death occurred. So it'd mean Georgia Breely, who had left the party way earlier when Noah was still at the party. And when Elisha came on down with Melissa, which was Georgia's mom, that was still way earlier, before Noah had walked away. However, if, what would you call it? Was it the private? It would have to be the private police interview of when Kaden said when he went back to sleep, not at 3 in the morning, but at 3:20. Would that have a knock-on effect as to when he was actually woken up in the first place then with the call? Well, if it was like 3 in the morning instead of 2:43, that's still before Noah had walked away. So I don't find it suspicious at this moment in time based off what I remember hearing about that. But Elisha, and there is a comment screenshot of it, which I'll do a different video on at another point, where Elisha said, I never told Kaden, or I never said that at 2:43 Georgia made it home. Oh. So what does that mean then? We'll have to get to it in a later video. Wood says, lots of people do find this very suspicious. However, anyone who questions the obvious is immediately banned, blocked from Facebook groups, Reddit pages. In the smaller forums on here and on YouTube, people are still able to seek the truth and question. Your comment above is referenced in the newer, more active Noah subreddit. I believe so. Maybe we do a standalone video on that. Tammy, I thought it was said that they were back home before Noah walked off. Exactly, that's what I remember at least. If I remember right, Noah was supposed to have been on the side-by-side with other people around the time Elisha picked up her niece. Maybe. Wood does say, though, the exact times are hard to nail down without basic phone log information. AT&T keeps all these records for 7 years. Don't need physical phone, don't need private forensics. It can take Ellie a very long time to obtain the records, though with permission or with a subpoena, a user can pull them up at any time should they choose. Not sure what Ellie has or is in the process of getting, but so far the public statements from Elisha and Kaden saying all of the following. Elisha called Kaden at 2:30, 2:40, 3, 3:20. That Georgia left at 2, 2:30, 3. Well, if at the latest Georgia had left at 3 in the morning, that is still 30 minutes before Noah had walked away. We have zero verified timeline of how long Georgia sat on the side of the road waiting for her mom, Melissa, and aunt Elisha, and no verified timeline of when any of them got home. Do we actually know exactly where on the highway where they pulled over or were waiting? Do we actually know where on the highway? At the spot of where Noah was found at later, a bit before or after? Does anyone know? Because you could argue and say maybe they had left earlier before Noah had walked away. In fact, they did go north down the highway and past the area where Noah was soon to be found dead. But because they already passed by it, Noah wasn't already there. And then when they did stop further down, further on, if in between of that waiting, that's when Noah ended up down at the highway, still out of reach distance, you could argue. Tammy, wasn't Noah supposed to be on the side-by-side at 2:40 and didn't walk off until 3:30? Yeah, supposedly. 2:40 being the timestamp which, what I said earlier on in today's video, with what Kaden Pressy was shown by another person at a later point post-death of Noah in regard to the after events of a rollover of the side-by-side situation where Noah's on the floor. And what else? Sour Wood. Thank you for remembering that. I can't recall seeing any exact time for the ATV, but I've seen it. He said he walked off at 3:30, so it would be interesting to see the phone and text records and to know that the call was actually to Georgia, had been picked up, not that they were on the way. All we have now is a lot of conflicting statements. Well, what I'll say, Sour Wood Honey, hopefully you're present right now watching or in the background. Based off what has been said, and it hasn't been corrected since, and there's not been any inconsistencies or counterpoints made since Kaden Pressy said it, in the, and I believe it's the private police recorded interview of 2024, I'm sure, Kaden Pressy said in his words, roughly, that after the party, or a later point onwards, a person had a photo from a video which they shared with Kaden, and Kaden described what he was shown, which was a person walking up close to Noah after the event of a rollover, Noah on the floor, Noah with a bloodied nose, appearing injured, but possibly laughing. And Kaden had said that in that photo or on that video, there was a timestamp of 2:40. You could argue and say maybe the timestamp of 2:40 is just the timestamp of when a screenshot was taken from the original footage, but at a later point at a different time. That's a counterpoint. But how Kaden words it can be interpreted as, here's footage, here's hard evidence of the event, there's a timestamp of 2:40, so that must mean that's when it happened. Which would mean, based off Kaden's original timeline timestamp of when he was woken up the first time by the call of Elisha, there's a 3-minute time difference. A 3-minute time difference of Noah being outside, side-by-side rollover, and then after that, 3 minutes pass by, Kaden's woken up by Elisha and the call, then Kaden realises that Noah is inside of the house near the beer pong table with Jack and with Jasmine, like nothing had happened. That's the only issue and conflict there with when you compare and contrast onwards. But the timestamp of 2:40 is the only one that has been given by Kaden, and it's not been changed since. Let's continue. Tammy. It would be nice to hear Mikey, Brylin and Isaac's viewpoint of what they saw that morning, of course. But unfortunately, they're not speaking publicly and probably never will. And didn't Renee Milan, the mother, say Jasmine called her between 5:45 to 6 in the morning? Yes. Renee also mentioned how it was an estimate and that she hopes and wishes to get a hold of her phone data or Life 360 to use as hard evidence. Well, many months have passed by. Renee Milan hasn't done it, so it's a bit disappointing. Tammy also says, had Jack Newton ever gotten back to the party house by 6? Who knows? Because when you try and work it out, we've heard the mention of 6:05 in the morning, Jack calls his father at the highway about the news. You would think, would Jack prioritise telling his father first or telling the party goers? For Renee Milan's timeline, the rough estimate of the time of when Jasmine told the mother, for that to make sense, for it to work in with Jack Newton, Jack would have to have got back to the party house by 6 in the morning or so at the max, for then Jasmine to find out and then for that to pass on. We've got this person, new viewer, Tria. Even if we go with Jack's timeline, I don't see how he could have gotten back to the house by 6. Fair enough. And I think those that believe Jack's time have said he came to the house to tell him at 6:15, but I don't think he'd have been there before 6:15 because he said he called. And true, if it was 6:15 and not 5:15, if 6:15 when Jack got back to the house to let everybody know what's happened, and he wanted to do it in person instead of over the phone, well, that's 15 minutes on. 15 minutes earlier, Jasmine, who remained at the house in the dark about it along with anyone else present, found out about 6 in the morning at the latest, based off what Renee says. At the end of the day, Jack's timeline could link in with Jasmine. Renee's timeline is just that Renee's timeline is a bloody rough estimate. That she says that there is phone ping, data, evidence, whatever, to show when it actually happened, the call made, the time of when the daughter found out about the death of Noah and then passed it on to the mother. We've yet to see it. It's not happened. Renee said she was going to do it, but from the looks of it, never happened. So it does come across as if Renee's timeline can't link in with Jack's or Kaden Pressy's with the 6:15 outlook. Because if Jack did find out at 6:15, or to at least tell people at 6:15 at the house what happened, well, Renee's saying Jasmine knew about it at the latest 6 in the morning, which is 15 minutes before Jack, so it doesn't link at this moment. Sadie, that was an estimate, yeah? Just like Elisha said, it was 3:20 when she called, but it was actually 2:45. It's extremely, extremely shite, this case, when it comes to estimates and times. And they've not been resolved or reinforced enough since, or backed up enough since, and some people may still be in the dark about what's true and what's not, and what's an estimate and what's been rounded up or rounded down since. That, oh, this person gives an estimate, oh, they're out by 30 minutes. This person out by an hour. That person out by an hour. What's the chance that Kaden Pressy could be out by an hour as well, with all these estimates and whatnot? Of course, Kaden wasn't saying he was estimating the time to be 5:15. He said he knew the time to be 5:15, and Elisha backed him up based off the phone records and data being proven to be the case. But we've just not seen the hard evidence. Tammy, hopefully Ellie has the phone information to see for sure what the exact time was. Was the general public still in the dark? Fazza, yes, why haven't they backed up Kaden Pressy, like Bryal and Mikey Isaac? They need to speak up more, then Kaden wouldn't be as doubted as much. Fair enough. But the thing is, Fazza, and I don't know if it's within the same comment thread on the video, but I know Fazza mentioned about how, you know, the situation with Kaden, how he's telling the truth, how it should be fine, there shouldn't be any questioning, why people doubting Kaden. But at the end of the day, what needs to be acknowledged, Fazza, besides the likes of Brylan and Isaac possibly backing Kaden up publicly, we got to acknowledge Mikey Lair. I don't know if you saw it, Fazza, but there is a Snapchat post at 5:27 a.m, the original timestamp of it, from the looks of it, which shows Mikey at the party house with his eyes open in bed with Logan Jernigan, Jasmine Milan, the laughing, smiling and happy. At that same time, Kaden said he was at the highway with Mikey. Mikey can't be in two places at once. And as well, based off body language, it appeared that the people at the party from that Snapchat were oblivious and unaware to the news of Noah's death at the time of 5:27. So it puts in doubt Kaden's 5:15 timestamp, and Kaden hasn't responded about it ever, or given a response in any way. So it's a major issue. Lisa, interesting stuff. Also, don't forget the 911 call made from the semi-truck driver, the one who took the video of them taking his black shorts off, will also corroborate the 5:15 timeline. Wait. Lisa? What's going on here? What the hell? Don't forget the 911 call made from the semi-truck driver. No. The semi-truck driver was called Tyler H. The Ford F-150 pickup driver was called Tyler Hardy. It's a fucking coincidence, the names, correct? But nevertheless, the first official call was around 5:43, and that was by the semi-truck driver. 5:43. The timeline of Kaden's of 5:15, Kaden, when they're at 5:21 to 5:30, did not see this semi-truck driver called Tyler H, nor Tyler Hardy, because it being at different times. So this semi-truck driver, who made the first 911 call at 5:43, wasn't present when the black shorts were being taken off. Because on the dispatcher call, not Tyler H, not Tyler Hardy made any mention about anyone else being present. 5:43, first call. 5:46, Tyler Hardy makes his first official call, but it's static due to a poor signal. 5:53, the most prominent time one, classified as the official call made. Tyler Hardy tries again at 5:53, calls it in. And dispatcher says, yes, we had a call from another person beforehand, and that was Tyler H, the semi-truck driver. But the timing of when this happened, this was much later on. This would have been when they were passing on by, or at least the semi-truck driver was, because they weren't able to pull up, when passing by the body and everything. No one else was there at that moment. So before that, people were likely, based on Kaden's timeline. But when these other wave of drivers came on by, no one was there, long gone. So they wouldn't be able to back up Kaden's timeline, Lisa, and that the calls were later and not earlier. Hopefully that clears up some confusion, but you can see how things can go wrong at times. Sourwood, you're welcome. One day at a time. Originally, it was stated that a burly guy told Kaden to leave the scene. At one point, Jack Newton told Kaden he was the one who told him to leave. After that, Kaden seemed unsure of who actually told him to leave the scene. Oh shit, well that's not good. I'm not attacking anyone with my comment, but that's a problem. It is. I understand the party goers were traumatized that morning. Who wouldn't be? I'm not here trying to figure out whose memory is most accurate. I wouldn't attempt to do so without seeing them face to face. Sometimes the eyes tell a story that the mouth doesn't. Warlike Wrath, I give you a lot of credit for what you do. Kudos to you. I appreciate that. Shout out to One Day at a Time, of course. And they've got a good profile picture as well of is that a Labrador or a dog? Looks good. Okay. Let's read it one more time just to process it. Originally, a burly guy. So a trucker, some kind of truck driver, but not like a lorry or a big haulage one, but a guy, a male, an unknown male, an adult of an elder age, told Kaden to leave and was swearing, and Kaden backed down and agreed to leave because Kaden said he respects his elders. But supposedly at one point, Jack Newton told Kaden he was the one who told Kaden to leave. And then after that, Kaden was unsure of who told him to leave. Where is the proof and evidence of when Kaden said he was unsure as to who told him to leave? I don't ever remember hearing or seeing that from Kaden, but if it does exist, can anyone direct me over that way? And as well, can anyone direct me to where and when Jack Newton said that he was the one that told Kaden to leave the scene? Is it in a screenshot? Is it in a comment? A DM message on Facebook? If anyone knows, provide some comments down below under this video. It could help a lot. Interesting. Oh, we got Junie. Not seen Junie for a while. In my opinion from life, as soon as anyone saw or heard about this type of thing, phones would all come out and calls and texts would be flying about. Oh, you mean in terms of the news of it happening at the time? The death hearing. That's a different name. Tater Tot Pressy. Just this is still the Kaden Pressy, in case anyone was wondering. Kaden says, the trucker didn't tell me to leave. Like I said, I never did see the semi-driver. But the service truck guy told me to leave. Yeah. I don't know why Kaden's trying to correct me here, unless it's because when I said trucker, Kaden thought I was referring to the semi-driver. I wasn't. I mean, Kaden says service truck guy. So when I say trucker, I'm basically referring to the service truck guy. But, you know, just in terms of wording, there's a misunderstanding. George Choden says, you should hit up Jack and talk it out. Okay. Who knows what happens there? Faza, I do not know why people are still confused. Kaden Pressy got to the scene way before the LE got there. Supposedly, yeah, 5:21 to 5:30. There was only 3 friends and JP's truck. Jack Newton, truck driver, and the guy who told Kaden to leave. The service one. In my opinion, that's correct. What Kaden Pressy is saying, so the timelines, you compare it to that service truck, to leave. In my opinion, that's correct. What Kaden Pressy is saying, so the timeline people are saying was an hour later, like 6:15, does not fit. People need to stay out of it, just making Noah's case more confusing. This is starting to really frustrate me. See, the thing is, Faza, based off Renee's estimated time of when she received a call and news from Jasmine, who found out about the death of Noah, 5:45 to 6 in the morning, that's still earlier than when Jack Newton found out. And Jack was there on scene to see it. Jasmine wasn't. So how would Jasmine know first before Jack? At the end of the day, Renee's timeline is an estimate. It could be closer to Jack's timeline and make more sense and go against Kaden, but we're yet to see that at this moment in time. But one thing is more of hard evidence to put into perspective as a contrast, Faza, is that yes, 3 of Kaden's friends at the scene, so Brylan, Mikey and Isaac, if you want to put it like that. But you know what the issue is, Faza? As said, documented on my channel, there is Snapchat footage at 5:27 a.m. The timestamp of when Kaden said he was at the highway, the scene, with Brylan, Isaac, and Mikey. But the Snapchat of 5:27 shows Mikey at the party house. Mikey can't be in two places at once. And also, even if Mikey stayed at the house, why would Kaden say Mikey came with him to the highway? And as well, even if somehow it was true, and the timing, in terms of the body language of Mikey, Logan, and Jasmine, they were all happy, as if they were completely clueless to what's happened and gone down with Noah. Meaning 5:27, based on the Snapchat, the announcement of Noah's death wasn't made public to the party house members. That it would have been announced at a later point. That has not been debunked yet, that Snapchat post, but it does counter Kaden Pressy's timeline. It's important, right? Skippy. Thanks, Raf. We may not have a lot of confirmed information, but you cover this case very well. Appreciate that. Sunny, Raf, we all appreciate you and what you do. Justice for Noah. You'll never give up on justice for him and his family and friends. Truly miss him. Appreciate that. Strawberry, hi everyone. You're amazing. Lots of love, amazing videos usual. Appreciate that. Sharon. And then last one, Linda. Hi. Haven't been on in a while, but glad to be back. When all this started with Noah, if you remember, when Noah, Jack, and some other kids were in the outbuilding standing around, what does that mean? And the one old man in the white t-shirt, you mean the front porch patio area outside of the party house, and a guy in a white shirt that looked older because of having a beard was staring at Noah. Was he staring at Noah? I don't remember that. I don't remember Noah being in sight. I can't remember, to be honest. Or it might have been when, on the Saturday when Shane D slept, Noah, and maybe in the background. But Noah, he is one of the guys that beat Noah. I've said that from the beginning. So you mean it's your opinion, not a fact. That Jack and the guts from Texas, you mean the guys from Texas, and one more old man took Noah out back and beat the shit out of him, then showered him and dropped him off on the road. If anyone wants answers, that old man in the white t-shirt, he knows he killed Noah. TikTok, old man TikTok, allegedly. I mean, saying allegedly is a good thing, but at the same time, by saying if anyone wants answers, he knows, he knows he killed Noah, that just seems really, really reckless language. But Linda does say allegedly, like an opinion and what's supposedly happening, but of course other people that may read this may misunderstand it and see it as a fact, and it could get a little bit out of hand. Now, that person in the back, if they are a Texas guy, well, it just so happens that Robin Smith said she was told by what the police had said 5 of the Texas guys, if that's all of them, I don't know, were cleared from the case. That's something to acknowledge as well. So as you saw, this video turned out to be a bit longer than expected, hence why it probably will be a live premiere, but also it's just the theme of today's video does expand on a wider scale in regard to other people receiving material and how it was handled and if it was a good idea or not. At the end of the day, I don't know if we'll get any full answers or clarity, but with what Elisha was shown compared to what Kaden was shown, the person distributing it being Kathy Bingham, consistent with 2 individuals, but one saw more than the other, likely the same clip possibly, and if not, different videos by the same person who originally recorded it. Witness on scene could have been a member of the general public. As for how Kathy Bingham obtained the video, asking out locals, who knows. Of course, you still got the mention by Donna Bond, no timestamp mentioned to what I can remember, but video footage which shouldn't have been released but somehow was. Donna Bond witnessed it in some way, somehow, and it showed Noah's naked body but no shoes either, if I'm correct in saying. So at a time when there's even less stuff on Noah's body. Is that later on? And if there's no shoes on Noah's body, what, because they were taken off as evidence and bagged and tagged? If so, you could do it as like a timeline and compare and contrast with the previous earlier footage if it's consistent enough, if it shows different people coming and going and whatnot. See, this is what I mean. You think of the party itself, people coming and going to that party, a total of 40 in, collectively, not all at the same time, but over the course of days. Who comes, who goes from the party? The same can apply to the highway on Monday morning. Who came, who left, who returned, how many times? And just collectively, over the course of those hours, how many people actually showed up at the highway? How many? Just a few little questions here and there that could ever be filled out. But I think we'll leave it there for now. Key video today, some ideas possibly generated, but I think I've forgotten those video ideas now. So I'll probably have to rewatch this video or the live premiere itself to try and pick up on when I got an idea, because they are needed. But that's it for now. My name's Wyatt Rath. See you next time. Goodbye. Good night.